Have you ever wondered how our world, with all its bustling cities and complex economies, actually got started? Well, you might be surprised to hear it wasn't some grand plan. Nope, it was more like a chain reaction, a series of dominoes that started falling 1,000 years ago in a simple farmer's field and ended up completely changing, well, everything. So let's follow that chain, shall we?
All right, so here's the big puzzle we're going to tackle. After the Roman Empire crumbled, big cities pretty much vanished from a lot of Europe for centuries. Life was super local, very rural. Then, all of a sudden, around the 11th century, bam, they start popping up again. Why? I mean, what on earth changed?
So to really get the change, you first have to picture what it was like before. For hundreds of years, early medieval Europe was a pretty quiet, fragmented place. Society was almost entirely agricultural, built around these self-sufficient little estates. There was hardly any long-distance trade, and most people, well, they never really went far from the village where they were born. And then, the first domino fell. And the crazy part? It didn't fall in a king's palace or on some epic battlefield. It fell in a farmer's field. This wasn't a revolution of swords and crowns. It was a revolution of soil and plows. This whole revolution really kicked off with one key piece of tech, the moldboard plow, or the Kehrploug. You see, older plows just kind of scratched the surface, but this heavy-duty new invention could actually turn over the thick, wet soils of Northern Europe. This one tool was a total game changer. It unlocked huge new areas for farming and made the land they already had way, way more productive.
And the effect was almost immediate. Better tech meant more food. A lot more food. For the first time in ages, Europe had a steady food surplus. And what happens when a population is consistently well-fed? You guessed it, it grows. All of a sudden, the population of Europe just starts to explode.
Okay, so now you've got more people and you've got more stuff, more grain, more wool, you name it. And with that, something that had been basically asleep for centuries roared back to life: trade. People now had more than they needed for themselves, and a bigger population meant more customers. It was the perfect storm for a brand new economy to be born. As all these trade routes started expanding, merchants realized they needed to team up for power and protection. This led to these incredibly powerful networks like the Hanseatic League. Think of it as a super alliance of trading cities. They controlled the trade routes, they set the prices, and they protected their ships. They basically became the engine driving this new international commerce. But look, you can't run a huge trading network by swapping chickens for wool. It's not efficient. This boom in trade forced a huge shift back to a monetary economy. Coins became essential again. It created a standard way to measure value, which is what made all this long-distance business even possible. Of course, carrying big sacks of coins across roads filled with bandits, super risky. So these incredibly clever merchants invented new financial tools, and one of the most important was the Bill of Exchange, or Wisselbrief. It was basically a medieval IOU, or like a modern-day check. A merchant could drop off his gold in one city, get a slip of paper, and then cash that paper in for gold in another city hundreds of miles away. It was a financial revolution that made trade so much safer and faster. So now you have all this activity, right? You've got markets, merchants, bankers, artisans making things. All of this buzzing economic energy had to happen somewhere. And these places, these hubs of activity, they became the natural seeds for new towns and for the revival of old Roman cities that had been quiet for so long. And that, right there, is how the agrarian urban society was reborn. It created a world where the cities and the countryside were deeply connected and depended on each other. The countryside made the food, and the cities became these vibrant centers for selling things, making things, and, of course, for new ideas.
Now, the return of cities didn't just change the economy, it completely shook up the social order. For the first time in centuries, a powerful new class of people showed up, people who weren't defined by owning land or by being a knight. They were the citizens, the city dwellers, the burgeri. These merchants and guild masters and bankers who lived in the cities, they started to run things for themselves. Their money gave them a ton of influence, and they began taking on jobs that, for the longest time, had only been handled by the church or the nobility. Things like organizing care for the poor and sick, and even setting up their own schools. So, because they were all living and working so closely together, these new city dwellers had to figure out how to manage their shared space. And out of this need, they developed this incredibly powerful new idea, the bonum commune, which basically means the common good.
It's the idea that all citizens have a collective duty to work for the well-being of the whole community, to build city walls, to maintain the marketplace, to make sure there's justice for everyone. And that idea brings us right back to today. That concept, born in those revived medieval cities, is absolutely still with us. Just think about it. Our public libraries, our parks, sanitation systems, public schools, what are those if not modern versions of the bonum commune? So the next time you're walking through your own town or city, just ask yourself, what ideas about our common good are shaping this place, right here, right now?
And there you have it, from a new kind of plow all the way to a new idea of society. What an incredible chain reaction that really did build the world we live in. Hey, if you found this explanation useful, do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe for more, and let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.